All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome to the frequently asked questions video. I know a lot of y'all have been waiting for this, so let's get right into it. So, the Discord's now set up. The link will be in the description. Join that if you haven't already. So how this frequently asked questions video is gonna work is I actually had to split it up. I know I said I was gonna put everything in one video, but it ended up being way too long. And the reason for this is I want to go through for nvim and my setup how to actually go about like setting it up. Like, so if you wanted to do it as well, how would you do that, and how would you set yourself up to be able to add anything to these setups you want? But that's why it ended up being so long. So we're going to start with this one, which is just the general frequently asked questions, and then we're going to go into the nvim setup. That's pretty self-explanatory, and then the setup, which is kind of just like my window manager and all that, and the applications that go along with that. So that's going to be that. Those videos are going to be coming out like pretty soon from this one, just because I'm going to record them shortly after. They're not hard videos to do. It's just that they probably will take a bunch of time. And also I want to do the nvim setup on one of my other Linux PCs, so that I can go through the entire process with y'all. So this video will be recorded in chunks. What I mean by that is I'll be pausing the recording and then starting again, so there might be like abrupt cuts, but it shouldn't be too noticeable because I'll stop talking and then go on to the next part, so it shouldn't be too bad. And then disclaimer. So I am a student. I am relatively new to nvim and relatively new to Linux itself. So I'm not claiming to know everything. So if I mess up something, or if you know something that I do not know, feel free to comment it down below. I'll pin it or talk about it in another video. So I just don't claim to know everything. Don't take what I say to be like the thing you should 100% do without any thought. Just keep that in mind. So general questions. So I'm not going to be naming people's names about who commented what, except witchy/cubits. The reason I do that is because they've been in like every single video's comments since like very early. So shout out you. So we're going to start with their question, which was, what does my username mean and how did I come up with it? So the reason I put all these questions together is they're kind of all related. So a little bit of backstory. I was like heavily addicted to gaming, and it was a big problem. And this started to be a big problem while I was in college, right? Or not was, I still am, but it started to be a problem after I had gone into college, right? Pretty much after my first semester. So because of that, I'm shortening this up. There's a lot more to this, but I failed a lot of classes, and come to this semester, right? Or no, the semester before this one that just ended, I really started to turn that around, quit gaming, all that, blah, 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 right? But part of that being is that I started to get into the habit of programming every day, because it's something I enjoy, and I found that out after I started to really get my shit together, right? So with that came the idea this semester to be like, okay, why don't I actually make myself program every day, and then I can record it and upload it to YouTube, so that I can go back and see my progress over time, right? I honestly didn't expect anybody to see the videos, so no, this is new to me. But going on to the actual question is, what does my username mean? So how did I come up with it? So when I was creating the channel, I was like, okay, I want a username to be part of me, but also signify my my change, or I want to move forward. So lovely is part of my username, love pengy. So that's where lovely came from. And then transposition is just a synonym for change or to move into something different. So that's what that means, and that's how I came up with it. Why did I create the channel? Just answer that. And then how do I have motivation to program every day? And that really just boils down um, to my addiction and my want to move forward, right? I have a heavy drive to not be a failure anymore, right? And how do I get better at what I want to do? I do it every day and I do it intentionally, right? I'm not saying that what I'm doing is the best way to go about it, but it's a very good way for me because I am a very habitual person, right? I will do things out of habit, and making this a habit is very important to me and will make me continue to do it, right? And I think this question was asked in a way of like, how can I do it as well? And I think it's just really finding why you're doing it, right? So it's obviously not going to be the same as me because my story is, I think, to be pretty unique. I don't think a lot of people struggle with a gaming addiction. It sounds stupid when I say it, but it is what it is. But find your reason, right? Maybe that reason is like, I grew up playing video games and creating video games really important to me, or some real serious, like, I don't know, the medical system saved my life when I was younger and I want to give back to it by way of improving their system or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. It could be something really simple. Like, I just like programming and I want to get better at it and get a job in it. That's okay too. But whatever your motivation is, you have to find that and really just like keep that in mind when you're trying to move forward in your programming journey. So moving on to what is my goal with this channel, right? So as I said earlier, I did not expect anybody to watch these videos. Like, genuinely, I thought I was just gonna upload them and then like 0 views, because like I was just uploading them. I didn't tell anybody to watch them. I didn't do anything. It was just the algorithm picked it up, and then people started coming through. And by the way, I'm very grateful for that, right? I fucking love talking with y'all. But the reason I mention this is my goal with this channel is not to blow up or do anything like that, right? I kind of have 2 goals with this channel. One is to learn from y'all and help y'all out where y'all need it, right? I think it's very cool to be able to talk to like-minded people, especially in programming, because it's not like, I don't know, it's sometimes it could be very hard to like go out and find people that are really into programming, like in the way that I am, right? I'm kind of in a weird spot where I'm not doing purely embedded, but I'm also not like in the super high level that a lot of CS majors are usually in. And in my computer engineering major, I don't know what it is, but most people are on the EE side, right? So they do see computer engineering is like both programming or both kind of like CS and electrical, but it seems like everybody is computer engineering is just wants to be an electrical engineer. So it's like I don't really have many people to talk to about this, but I think it's very cool that I can foster a community of people like that. But also, one of my big goals when quitting is that this is kind of a lifelong goal, but I also wanted to help somebody else that was dealing with the same thing I was. So if this is my means of doing that, then that's huge for me, right? So when did I start using Vim, right? So I discovered Vim in my applied embedded engineering or applied embedded programming class. That was the semester prior to this one. And I was like, okay, this is actually really fun. The reason we found out about Vim is we had to use Linux for this class, right? And this is actually about the same time I started using Linux, right? I started using WSL, And I was like, okay, how can I, or sorry, before this, it was, I used the Vim emulator in VS Code, right? And that kind of got me started on the motions. I was pretty ass when I moved over to WSL, but it got me going, at least to know like what are the different modes, how do I move around. I didn't like use Control F or Control V, or I didn't know how to search or anything like that, but I can move around and I can insert text, right? But I installed WSL because I wanted to use Linux more because I was really enjoying Linux. So I was like, what can I do in WSL so that I don't have to dual boot or anything like that to get me used to Linux before I fully commit, right? And NeoVim was the way for me to do that, and it just skyrocketed my want to move over to Linux because one, I was really enjoying NeoVim. Two, I was spending all my time in WSL rather than actual Windows, so I was like, okay, I'm using Linux anyway. But also, when I was opening a bunch of windows, because y'all see it in my videos, I love to do this setup, and I was doing that in Windows, right, with 3 WSL tabs. And although I have a good amount of memory, I have like 12 gigs, right, it was still chewing that up, especially if I had like especially if I was running something else like Chrome for my assignments or looking stuff up, or whatever web browser I was using. I don't remember which one I was using at the time, but the browser just chewing my shit up, Windows chewing my shit up, and then WSL, it would get slow after a while. It would obviously take a good amount to get there, but it wasn't hard when I was like trying to learn something, you know what I mean? But yeah, September 2023 was when I started Vim. Well, all right, so share something that helps beginners, right? So what I think is very important for me, it could be different for everybody, obviously. Not everybody's the same, but for me, it was a big, and I see this on the internet a lot, is people having a habit of asking what to do before doing something, right? So this is where don't ask first, do first comes in, right? I'm sure when people ask, what are some good beginner projects, they have a bunch of ideas in mind what would be cool to implement as a project, right? And given that, you do not need to ask what I should do or what do you think is good or whatever. Just do something, right? Obviously do something that's slightly out of your comfort zone so you're improving, but you know what you need to do already. All you have to do is do the work to do it, right? And I'm not saying it's easy, because at the end of the day, programming isn't an easy task, right? It's not like, I don't know, like algebra or something where it's like, all right, I just got to follow these rules and I'm all set type shit, right? Programming is inherently difficult sometimes, but you should lean into that, right? In my opinion, you should lean into that. And you should do projects that you think are difficult, right? So one I'm about to start is taking, oh, this actually goes into the next one, but the pluses and minuses on my screen when I'm doing my recordings, that is a application that I launch and it updates a file, right? And I'm going to move that over to an OBS plugin, right? I have no experience with that, and I've never done anything like it. And on top of that, I'm not the one who built the application. I've only submitted one PR to it, and I didn't need to know the entire code base. I don't think I'm saying that word right, but the entire code base to edit that one thing, right? But regardless, I'm going to figure it out and how to do it, right? I don't know how hard it's going to be. I don't know how difficult it's going to be, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it's going to be a learning experience for me, right? So that's my thing. Don't ask first, do first, right? You know more than you think you know, right? Yeah, people's problem solving skills are better than they let on to be or allow themselves to be. So if you put yourself in a difficult situation and you really just grind that through, y'all can find success in what you want to do. Obviously, don't be like, okay, I'm gonna implement I don't know, something crazy as my first project. Obviously, stay relatively close to your bounds, but maybe okay. So take your idea and make it a little bit simpler, or just do the idea flat out, right? Y'all can do more than what you let on to be. You may be beginners, but beginners can do whatever they want. Maybe it'd be a different version of what you imagine in your head, but you can do it regardless. So on to the next part. This is pretty simple. So the pluses and minuses, let me show y'all what this person is talking about, right? So let me turn this back on. So this plus 188 and plus or minus 69, these two numbers, the plus 188, which is the green, and then the minus 69, those represent the number of lines I've added and deleted in my repos, right? So at the current moment, I can show y'all. Oh, wait, I just need settings. So it wasn't updated, but so usually I have all of my repos listed in there, but I have been switching back and forth between repos and it didn't make much sense for recordings. So I only have what I'm currently working on there. So if I go in here and then, I don't know, let's touch random, right? And then I go in here and I add something, right? I add 3 lines and I save it, and then I launch, right? So now it will show +4 because I added 4 lines. It includes the white space because it's a new line. But yeah, that just tracks the amount of lines I've added and the lines I've deleted, and it's referencing what my remote commit is, right? So if I delete this file, remove random, it'll just go back to saying, okay, I have 0 insertions and 0 deletions, right? Because it's comparing against my remotes and not the changes I've most recently done, right? So that's that, and that's it for the general questions. Alrighty, so education, right? So what year am I in college? I am going into my senior year, right? This last semester, I was in the last semester of my junior year. My major is computer engineering, right? I know a lot of people will think it's computer science because I was doing that compilers class, but no, it's computer engineering, and the compilers class was a tech elect. And then how many days till I graduate? This is actually a good question. Let me so how many days until May 10th, 2025? So 368 days left of programming every day until I graduate, because I graduate 368 days. What profession do I want to go into? So this is something I've been thinking about a good amount, and I have no real world experience, so that's probably where my indecision comes from at the current moment. But I know I want to do something low level, but I don't know specifically what that is, whether that's like writing firmware, embedded systems, programming, or whatever that may be. I'm not quite sure yet, but I've been trying to implement different things into my projects to kind of like test the waters to see what I really liked doing. So when did I start learning programming? So this is kind of a weird question. Not that the question is actually weird, but my journey is kind of weird. So I took a Java class in high school. But problem with this is I didn't remember anything going into my first semester of programming in college. So then we go on to college, right? So going back to me being addicted to gaming, right? I don't remember a lot of the things that were happening while I was addicted. So 4 semesters ago, I took a class called 245, which is intro to C programming. So this is dumb basic programming. So you did like how to or let's say how to, this is like hello world, how to use standard IO. We didn't go over how to malloc stuff. How arrays work. Like really basic stuff, right? The stuff you'd want if you were new to programming, right? And I honestly consider myself new to programming at this point, just because I didn't remember anything from high school. So that was 4 semesters ago, right? And then 3 semesters ago, I took 246, which is advanced C programming. And this was like more practical uses, like we learned pass by reference, pass by value, mallocing stuff, or no, let's say managing memory, basic data structures like linked lists, dynamic arrays. What else? Doubly linked list. We went over a little bit about trees, but I don't think we ever implemented one. But yeah, that's what we did that was 3 semesters ago. And then, all right, this is more than the question asked, but 2 semesters ago, I had applied, embedded, programming, and this was basically intro to object-oriented programming. So we learned C++ and Python. Don't ask me about anything from C++ because I don't remember. Oh, we didn't do much of C++, but and then 1 semester ago, the most current semester basically was the compilers class, and y'all saw like everything from there. So that's my programming journey. But when I first started doing projects was and really started taking programming serious, because that's the point where I was like, okay, I'm starting to really like this stuff, is W column, right? So this was, when was my first commit? Wait, can I sort by, never mind. Actually, wait. Oops. Whatever. Wait, let me actually see when, I think it was August 7th is what that was. Yeah. So August 7th, 2023 is really when I started taking programming seriously. And that's where my learning took off, because honestly, I don't know if the classes are not very well instructed, or like they don't, or they're designed to be this way, but my projects have taught me the most when it comes to how to program, how to do projects, etc. Well, obviously how to do projects, but how to split up stuff. Like a lot of the things you see me doing, I've learned myself, and that's why it may not be like the most efficient way or whatever. Just because I've been learning on my own, and what I see and how I understand things is how I program it. So that's kind of my journey with programming so far. And then lastly, do I learn everything on the go? So that's where I learned C. So the classes I just mentioned were where I started learning C, and then everything else was on the go. So It depends on what you mean by on the go, right? So if I really don't like know how to do something, for instance, the hash table, right? I had no clue how hash tables worked, so I looked it up, right? Because at first I thought hash maps, like specifically, I didn't think we needed a hash table. I never heard of a hash table before, so I thought hash maps were just you have you have a lookup table basically where it's like, okay, I have a string. What is that? And then I guess I can have another array where it's like, okay, I have a string. What's the corresponding index within the other one? Okay, there we go. And then we add it sequentially, right? That's what I thought it was. That's not how it works. But I didn't know how it worked, so I just looked it up, right? So if you mean on the go as in like I don't look anything up, no, I do look things up. But if you mean on the go as in like I don't watch a YouTube video or something, that would be correct. The reason being is I want to learn how to teach myself things and quickly parse through information, right? Um, the reason I do this is I feel like that's how that's what's going to be better in the workplace, right? If I only watch YouTube videos about stuff, then I am not improving my understanding of it as fast. Or this might just be me, but I'm not improving my understanding of it as fast as I could be, and I need to learn how to read documentation because documentation is very important. I've seen it even in just NeoVim, right? Say I want to learn how to, or actually, say I want to learn how to add lazy, right? This is a form of documentation, right? We go through and then we're like, okay, cool. This is all the features and whatnot. Okay, these are my requirements. Okay, this is how I install it. How do I add something new? Oh my gosh, these are all the options I can use, or this is how I add something, right? So being able to read documentation, I feel like is very important. And by learning everything, by going through and either reading documentation or looking it up directly, like I think that's a very valuable skill, and that's why I do it that way, right? So to answer your question, if you mean not looking anything up, no, I do not learn everything at go. If you mean not looking up like YouTube videos or waiting for my instructor to speak about it, correct. I do learn everything on the go. So that is all the education questions. Alrighty, so setup questions, right? So someone asked for my specs. I'm on the Lenovo Yoga 730 15 IWO. It's a laptop for 2019. I've got 12 gigs at 2400 megahertz. It's a DDR4, 256 gig SSD. It's got an i5 8265U, and it's a 50-inch model. So it's not the most glamorous, but I'm on Linux, so I don't need much. So my keyboard. So I know a lot of people have asked for this, so I pulled up everything that I got from. So first of all, is a lubing kit. This thing's nice. It gives you everything. I was a beginner to lubing, or I still am, but this gives you like everything you need. I specifically got the Crytox version, but this is really nice. It comes from Canada, if that's a problem for you for shipping, but yeah. So my cables, let me see if I can, actually I can just unplug this. So my cables, I don't know if y'all can see, but actually let me put the preview on. Yeah, so the cables are custom made, and then they're both USB-C, or all my cables are USB-C. So I have a split, so it's cables connecting the two halves, and then a cable that goes from the PC to the keyboard, right? And both of these are from the same seller. Really nice person, ships it very fast. Even leaves little notes in there too. It's cute. But yeah, these are all my cables are from this person, and then length doesn't really matter. Just get what you want. And then it's very nice because you can choose, like, you choose a paracord, right? So that's the inside part. And usually I get, or no, I always get Aloha. And then I just put a white sleeve on there for the outside. But yeah, that's where I get my cables. And then all my keycaps are also from this person. Well, I guess you can't buy it now, but so I got the pink ones and the purple ones from the seller. And then these are my home row index finger keys. It just allows me to feel it, right? It's kind of hard to differentiate if you're just using all of the DSA ones without the imprints. So I got these. I think it's very nice, but these keycaps are very nice. I got the resin ones, and then also so they're a different material. And then my BMO keycap. So I will say, if anybody's planning to buy this, this keycap, at least for me, the bottom is like, it's like resin, but it's not very, it's not like, it's kind of flexible and it's not very hard. So if I push on one side, it can come off. So I'm about to contact the seller to see if they can make a plastic stem so that it doesn't have that problem. But other than that, it's amazing keycap. And then the actual iris, right? So I have the Rev 8. I know they're coming out with the Rev 9. I don't know what the difference is, but I have the Rev 8. And then I bought it with Duroc shrimps. They're somewhere over there, but right now I'm using, hold on, they're over here. I'm using the Gateron Alias switches. These runners are nice. Honestly, the only reason I switched over from the strips is because this has a clear housing, and I was messing with the RGB stuff and I needed the colors to be accurate. So that's honestly the only reason I switched. I love the shrimps, and I'm probably gonna switch back to it after I lube them. That's the problem, because the lubing takes forever. But these are the switches I'm currently running, if you like how they sound. But back to this. So switches, and then the keycaps, I didn't get any because I got them from somewhere else. And then I have black FR4 plates. And then I have a tinted mid layer, obviously. And then, yeah, these don't really matter. And then the actual like bolts and stuff. Actually, I can show you. So the bolts you can just get anywhere at Lowe's, right? There's just normal screws and whatever these things are called. Yeah, normal screws and shit. But what I did is I just took one half of my board, and then I took the screws, because you know how people like always open up the packages and then don't and then just leave them out, right? So that actually worked in my favor because I could test it out, right, without like being a dickhead and opening the plastic, right? And then also, I don't know if you can see, but this black stuff, it's what is it called? Actually, hold on, let me figure out. All right, it's called Plasti Dip, right? So you just like dip it in there, and then it gives it like a plastic coating. But the reason I did that is so that it doesn't slide, right? So it gives it that like it's like putting rubber feet, but on the screws themselves. So that is my entire setup. I'll put all the, actually let me do that. I'm gonna put all the links in the description if y'all wanted to buy this stuff, because I honestly am in love with my setup. So, and I know a lot of people have asked about it, so I will definitely put that in there. What is my typing speed? Hold on, we can figure that out real quick, because I actually don't know. How do I go to the like normal one? Actually, hold up, because the reason why I have a bunch of settings on my monkey type is because I was using it to like actually practice. So I have settings like you can only use the shift on the opposite side of the key you're pressing and whatnot. So we can do actual, okay, where you're going, doing all the things, even Cause oh my gosh. Cause it feels like home when you are here. So I type at 77. That's actually so much faster than I thought it was. Yeah, 77 is my words per minute. At least on that test. I don't actually know what my average is, because usually when I use like these typing test platforms or whatever, I'm using it to practice, not to like benchmark myself, right? So I'll put punctuation on. I'll put settings like you can only hit shift on the opposite half, or like you have to type everything, you can't skip past. What other things? Oh yeah, one that I really like is there's some settings on like a Keyboard, and I think on Monkey Type too, where like it'll give you the words that you struggle on. I love that setting, but it's not good for like benchmarking how fast you can actually type. So how do I learn to type on Ergo Split, right? So I guess those are related, but so this is kind of in order, right? So I started by using Keyboard, right? And if you haven't seen Keyboard, it's lovely for learning like new stuff. So what this does is, can I log out to show you what it looks like? Normally, yeah, sign out. All right, so practice. Damn. Never mind. I'm not even gonna worry about it. So, what this does is it practices like specific keys, right? So it one by one, once you get a certain words per minute and accuracy on a certain key, it will move on to the next one. So you see how I'm on O right now, and then these other ones, my last speeds were high enough to like pass that one. So it'll keep giving you new keys, and then what you can also do, or on top of that, it also gives you stuff you struggle with, right? So words that you struggle with that are also using the key that you struggle with, right? So that's very good. In my opinion, it's lovely for like first learning, because yeah, you need to, at least for me, because I was learning touch typing and the split at the same time, I need to learn where the keys were, and that was a really good way for me to do that. So then we moved on to Monkey Type. Monkey Type. And this is kind of like, in my opinion, this has like crazy customizability. Like, look at all these settings, right? And you can do stuff like for instance, if I hit shift on the right side and hit P, it won't let me go, because I have to hit the opposite side. It has stuff like that where it's like, it's simple. It's simple in its like concept, but it's very important if you're like me, learning touch typing or learning on a split, and you're trying to get rid of bad habits, right? And then after that, I switched over to Type Racer. Reason being is Type Racer actually gives you like actual like English. So you see, like, it may seem quite novelistic to you, etc., etc. It actually gives you like words. Monkey Type and Keyboard will just give you words that don't make sense in and of itself. So Type Racer is more of a like real world practice, and that'll get you right for general typing. So that's how I learned. It probably took me a month or so to get comfortable, and I honestly don't know when I got back to what my speed was on a staggered, right? It probably took me a couple months to 3 months, but I think I'm a weird case because I didn't know how to touch type before, right? So I don't think that is very comparative to other people's journeys. Alrighty, so what distro am I using? So I'm using Debian. Good old Debian. And then what IDE I use nvim. yeah, so that is the rest of the setup questions. All right, so last thing is project questions, right? So, so what have I been programming in the videos, right? This is kind of a little bit more complicated than it was before, but so day 1 through 38 and day 43 has been working on my compiler, right? So, this was a project for my compiler construction class, right? And what we had to do is we had to make a compiler that went from a subset of C to Jasmine slash Java virtual machine or whatever. And how we did this, or yeah, the components of the compiler, we didn't do everything because we were time constricted by it's only a semester, right? So we did a lexer slash tokenizer, right? And then we did a parser, and then we did an abstract syntax tree generator. This was like part of the parser, because yeah, but so let me explain what these do actually. So the lexer, all that does is that takes your base file. So say I have like, so say I have int main void, right? And then I have a null statement in here, right? So all that's going to do is convert it into like, it's going to convert it into certain parts. So let's say we specify int is a type, or actually let's do how we did it for the project, right? So int was a keyword, and then main was in ID. I should have installed the linter for this. And then void was also a keyword. And then we go into this block right here. And then we have this goes into semicolon, right? So that's all that does. It converts the base file into tokens, right? Pretty simple, right? So after that, we go through the parser. So what the parser does is it checks if, actually, let me pull that example back up. Int main void. Actually, we didn't have a void keyword, so this was implied to be void. So this didn't exist, sorry. So what this does is it checks if all the components are there, right? So for int main, it's going to check, hey, do we have the type, or this is a function call, right? Because we start with a type, and then we get the ID, right? So what we're expecting is parentheses, right? And then in this parentheses, we can either have nothing, or we can have like characters delimited by, or we can have variables declarations delimited by commas, right? So this would pass on the parser because it gives us something valid that's within the parser, right? But if we said like int main, and then we got rid of these parentheses, this wouldn't be accurate. Reason being is because now int main is a variable declaration, and we are now expecting a semicolon after that, right? But instead we got brackets, right? So that the parser would then throw an error because it's invalid, right? So what the parser does is it doesn't check if semantically it's correct, but it checks if every part of it is there and it's in order, right? So after this, we go through the abstract syntax tree generator, and all that does is kind of it splits everything up into trees, right? So say I have this case, right? So let me correct that for the parser. So we have a function definition, right? And then we are, or we already went through the parser, so we know we have each part, but now we have this block is now the function body, right? And then in this function body, we can have statements or expressions or whatever, right? Variable declarations, whatever can be in this body, right? So then we take it and we put it into a tree, right? So this function body has its own like structure, and within the structure, it has any one of these, right? Or any amount of these, right? It can be it is an array, right? Because we can have multiple, right? So then we have this null statement, right? So it's a statement, or it's a null statement, and it is a null statement. So we put that null statement into this function body structure, and that is now our abstract syntax tree for this entire thing, right? And the reason we generate this is because we're going to use it later down in the road, right? So parser, abstract syntax tree generator. All right, so after this, after at least I did, we call this whole thing the parser, because this is kind of like one part, right? And then we move on to semantic analysis. And this is really simple. Everybody knows what this is, whether they think they do or not, right? So all this is say we have, right? Say we pass in A, right? And then we say A equals a character A, right? This would fail in the semantic analysis, right? Because in the semantic analysis, we're checking if the code makes sense, right? Real simple. So in the parser, we are checking if all the parts are there. Now here, we're checking if all the parts make sense in conjunction, right? But if we have this current case, this would not make sense, because A is an integer. Or, okay, let me give a better example, because a character is just an integer at the end of the day. So say we have a string, right? We are expecting an integer, right? And instead we are given a sequence of characters, aka a string, and that is not allowed, right? So the semantic analysis will then throw an error, because this code does not make sense, right? So let's get rid of this and then go back to the null statement, right? Oops. Right. And then after the semantic analysis, we do the code generation. And all this does is real simple. It goes through the abstract syntax tree, right? And generates code. So it'll take, say we have int main, right? So we have this in our abstract syntax tree, right? And we have function definition, and we declare in it A, right? And then in the function, body, we have a null statement, right? So all the code generator will do, say this is abstract syntax tree, right? It's not what it actually looks in my program, but it's just a quick example, right? So in this, we would go through the entire function, or the entire abstract syntax tree, which in this case is real simple, but it could get very long. And then we say, okay, in our target language, what does this look like? So say our target language is like Python, right? The reason I'm using Python is because I don't remember the JavaScript commands off top, but say we're using Python, right? We would say def, wait. This will be, let's just say the name of it is main. def main, and then what is it? Damn, I don't remember Python, but let's just say the variable is a, and then inside this we have a null statement, right? All this is doing is converting this into our target code, right? Real simple. And then that's it. That was our compiler, right? So that's what we were doing for day 1 through 38 and day 43, right? So on to the next one. So, oh shoot, I missed some days. Okay, some days in here, damn. Some days in here we're working on our nvim config. And all I was doing at this point was reconfiguring my LSP. Think of that as code formatting and like diagnostics and whatnot. Configuring my LSP or reconfiguring my LSP to split everything up. The reason I did this is so that I can explain it better in the nvim video. That's literally it. All right, so damn, what days were I missing? Yeah, I did this wrong. So these days are wrong, but whatever. They're around right. Some days throw in some nvim config days in there, but so in here we're working on blib, right? So blib is what I've been working on recently, and all this is a library of commonly used functions or concepts. Let's say concepts by me, or newly learned concepts. And the reason that I put this in a project was that so that I can easily pull from it. So like, say in a future project, I need a dynamic array, right? I can just pull it from the library rather than implementing the whole thing over again, right? So pretty simple, right? Been working on high step. Well, I actually finished it last night. But yeah, working on that. And then day 40 was keyboard firmware. So this keyboard uses QMK, or you can use VIA too, but you know, I like programming C, so you know, QMK. But it uses QMK. So all you have to do is interface with that, and then you can update functions on this keyboard. You can do whatever you want, right? So I was just updating functions of keyboard, right? So yeah, that's what I've been programming in these videos. Nothing too serious. I'm still learning, so yeah, that's where we're at. All right, so next up is what have I learned from every project, right? I'm gonna make this kind of short because this is a good amount to go through. So for the compiler, I learned how to use build tools, how to figure things out from a spec that is not quite complete, and then how to ask questions when I don't understand something, right? And this isn't just like a normal thing or like a general thing. Well, I guess it is, but I struggle on asking questions. I'll always like try to spend an absorbent amount of time trying to figure something out when I really shouldn't. But next shooter game. So this one was a project I did with as a final project where we basically made a game in Pygame. This one was really important for me to learn object-oriented concepts, but also how to work in a team and how to manage a team that one doesn't know as much as me, I guess, or doesn't put in as much work as me, right? So that was very important for teamwork and working in a group for me. W column. This one was my first project. That's it. It looks ass now, but this one was huge for me. For one, because all of this I did, this was teaching me how to figure stuff out on my own without watching YouTube videos and whatnot. Because all of this I figured out on my own, including the animation stuff. That all was done by me. So this one taught me that I can do more than I think I can without the help of other people, right? So that one was very important for me. And then Cablod, this one was kind of just learning how to interact with APIs. Nothing too serious. And then from where this one taught me to read, uh, rehashed, I guess, my my learning of how to read documentation, because all this stuff, everything that I used in here, I had to. Oh, this isn't a good example, but all of this was. Oh my gosh, where's the actual file? QMap. I guess it is QMap. Yeah, yeah. So all of this was figured out by reading documentation, right? And the only way you could get that information was really by reading documentation, because I didn't feel like asking somebody every single time I need to know something. So this one is a project that's still in progress. I can't work on it in on YouTube for specific reasons, but yeah, this one also was this one taught me web scripting and how to interact with APIs. Oh my gosh, look how my X11 used to look. That's crazy. Anyway, this one uh was kind of figuring figuring stuff out without having clear documentation, because the like no I guess nobody like interacts with Obsidian through the command line, so figuring that out was kind of a struggle. But um yeah, this one was nice too. And then this one was just was interacting with embedded devices or microcontrollers, um, and using the microcontroller to interface with different sensors and peripherals. And then this one was just learning how to make scripts. This one was in Windows, unfortunately, but um, yeah, still a lot of the same concepts in shell scripting. So yeah, that's that one. All right. How do I identify projects I want to work on and how to break them down into multiple tasks, right? So I feel like this is something everybody already can do. But really it's just, hold on, oops. So Obsidian, let me go here. So first of all, what I recommend doing is just writing down everything that you think of, right? Every project you think of. That minimizes a barrier to figuring out this stuff out. And then just like just write down the idea you had at the time, right? So for this one, actually, let me not do this one. Yeah, yeah. So for this one, right? This one is an idea to take the an OLED, right? That's driven by something, right? And then uh be able to track the achievements that you do and how many you do in a certain day, right? So this is based off of GitHub. So like this, right? Instead of it being contributions, it could be like whatever achievement you want to do. So like say I read 10 pages of my book, or I programmed today, or something like that, right? But that's just a general idea, right? That just gets me into the door of, if I decide to do that, then same thing. Time-lapse plugin in nvim, right? Take out dead space, only when stuff is typed, right? So that's actually getting into the, oh, how am I going to do this, right? Because the concept is already all the way in here, right? And then, okay, so I actually didn't. So let's go to this one, right? So for this video, right? I took a bunch of comments and then just slapped them in here, right? And that gets me going into it. And then I came over here. Actually, let me. Whoops. Oh my gosh, I'm so used to going to that. So like, where's it? General? No. Script. Right? So I just threw everything down in here, and then the idea. So it's not a, oh, I have this whole project, let me do everything at once. No, it's incrementally, right? And that's why you see me actually now I can go to toy seed, right? So let's go to a big example, right? Oh wait, I'm in blib to do. So look, this is a 218 line long to do, right? But I do each part at a time, right? So I started this a little bit late, so we're gonna start in the middle of the lecture. But so look, what is returned needs to be a struct. So I turn into a struct tokens. Let's turn this in, call this a struct token, and then implement this, implement that, right? And all of this is at different times, right? When I think about it, I just write it down, and then that's my to-do. That's how you split it up into smaller tasks. And then when you're ready to work on it, you just take one of these tasks and then do that task, right? Rather than just being like, all right, I need to implement this. I had no steps, right? And then just figuring out the steps on the way. That's how you break it up into smaller things, right? You just incrementally add, hey, I need to do this, I need to do this. But in the beginning, you do need to come up with the overall, how am I going to do this, right? So like, for example, this one, right? The overall goal and then steps. These are tentative steps, right? Obviously, these changed, right? But at least it got me into the door and thinking about it, right? That's all you really have to do. It's not, you probably do it already. You just maybe don't write it down or something like that. It's honestly really simple. You just write down what you're thinking at the end of the day. But all right, so what are my tips for beginners to do some projects, right? It's probably going to be pretty simple advice, but I really don't want to say this, but just do it, right? I know you have a project in mind probably when you're typing this out, or if you're thinking about it, right? Just do it. It doesn't matter if it's simple or like take my W column, right? So for this project, I was going to make a full-fledged UI and all that, but I was not able to do that at the time. I couldn't understand how to do it. So instead, I just took the tools that I knew I could use. I don't know if that's right. And made the same exact application, right? You could do whatever project you want just within your bounds. Like, that's okay to do. And I think that is really all you need to do a project, right? So say I want to make, what do I want to make? Say I want to make, okay. Say I want to, what do I want to make? Oh my gosh. Okay, say I want to make an application that greets me at the terminal like neofetch or highfetch or whatever, right? Okay, so what I can start by doing, okay, I don't know how to do this, right? But what I do know how to do is make a program that when started will print, or when executed, I guess, will print hello world. Right? Well, if I have a program that knows how to print hello world, then all I need to do is make this run whenever I want it to run. You've just created a simpler neofetch just by using what you already have. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to make it complicated, and you can do whatever you want, I promise you. But it's just a question of, will you let yourself do that? And will you break it down to the level that you need it to be at? So that's all I got for y'all. I will be making the nvim video and the setup video very soon. But for now, that's what I got.